As most of you may be aware, Joshua Duggar's sentencing is coming up in early April, and y'all, he is doing everything he can to either have the court drop one of his charges or reconsider the verdict. Now, I've discussed this before on here, but this topic is very heavy and difficult to talk about, so I'm going to pop up some abbreviations for terms that I'm going to be using in this video. Also, I do want to put a trigger warning because a lot of the things we're going to be talking about in here is very sensitive and explicit, and if discussing this trial is going to affect you in a negative way, please skip this video. We are just weeks away before Josh Duggar's April sentencing, and once again, you guys, he is asking that he be granted a new trial. This time, he is basing it off of the claims that his December guilty verdict was quote-unquote unconstitutional. As most of you probably know, Josh Duggar was found guilty back in December of receiving and possessing CSAM and is set to be sentenced for his crimes on April 5th. Just a quick rundown since his verdict, Josh's legal team filed a motion back in January 19th for a new trial, an acquittal of the guilty verdict or the dismissal of the possession of CP charge, arguing that there is no evidence that Josh personally viewed the illegal material. However, prosecutors believe the evidence of Josh's guilt is clear and overwhelming. As for Josh's claims that he never viewed the CSAM, prosecutors claim it doesn't even matter. He is still very much guilty. The document reads, the government did not need to provide evidence that he personally viewed the material to convict him of receiving and possessing CP. It only had to prove that he knew the material was of minors engaging in explicit conduct. And that brings us to present day, where Josh's legal team is attempting to once again nab their client a new trial. On February 28th, they filed a court document that stated this is the rare case where a criminal defendant was deprived of significant constitutional rights and the law requires a new trial. Josh's legal team has also accused the government of sidestepping issues and mischaracterizing Josh's arguments in an attempt to more readily refute them. In another portion of the response, Josh's legal team argues that the prosecution did not prove that Josh actually watched the videos knowing they contained CSAM. They stated the government failed to introduce any evidence that would allow a reasonable jury to conclude that Duggar knew that visual depictions allegedly recovered from the computer were of a minor engaging in explicit conduct. They also stated that while one of the CSAM videos was open on Josh's desktop computer, it was only watched for 29 seconds. Y'all, oh my. The 29 seconds that was watched did not contain any minors engaged in explicit conduct. In their initial filing, Josh's attorneys accused the government of failing to present evidence needed in a timely manner, referring to the allegations that someone other than Josh, specifically former Wholesale Motor Cars employee and Duggar family friend Caleb Williams, had access to the computer as well. In response to this, the government did point out that the individual was not even in the state of Arkansas when the crimes were committed. However, Josh's legal team are now saying that Caleb has changed his timeline several times, and the fact that Caleb sent emails to the prosecution during the trial should have been made clear to the defense team earlier. The document reads, in short, Duggar sought to introduce evidence that Williams may have lied or been mistaken about his whereabouts at certain times. Indeed, Caleb made it clear to the government in one of his two belatedly disclosed emails that he had misled law enforcement concerning his whereabouts, even if inadvertently. The previous attempt by Josh's legal team to have the possession of CSAM charge dropped was also disputed by the prosecution, with the February filing accusing Josh of attempting to quote-unquote scapegoat others, with said efforts ultimately collapsing under the mildest scrutiny. Okay, you guys, so I'm trying to remain professional throughout all of this. Like I said before, this is really difficult to discuss. I have told you guys before my point of view, where I stand with it, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Josh and his legal team continue to try to get out of this. I know that the legal team is only doing what they're supposed to do, but at this point, you would think that Josh would just accept his verdict and let it go. Y'all, please let me know what you think of Josh and his legal team's latest attempt to try to go back to trial. Also, if you want to stay up to date with Duggar news, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing before you go, and tapping the bell for post notifications. That way you are notified every single time I upload. As always, I appreciate you guys to the moon and stars, and until the next one, mwah, bye guys!